in the service of any kind of production would come down, like the butter manufacturing chief and the people from the mill. All these people would come down and be available. And it was a good place for communication, where you found out things that were good and things that were bad about the community. You can see willows, and this is where the itinerant workmen that came to do the crops usually congregated. We classified the people that came in from a depot standpoint as being soft hands or hard hands. If they were hard hands, they'd gripped a pitchfork or a sledgehammer or other things, and they knew how to work.
And their hands were calloused.
But the soft hands were the ones that were brand new to the operation, and they usually were with backgrounds in clerical or stock market or things of that nature. And it was really a result of the 1929 Depression.
And the Depression had quite an impact on the Fisher family.
Yes, it changed our lives tremendously. At one time, my dad had 3 people working for him, and he was just managing the depot. But then when the Depression hit, it became necessary to cut down on manpower to keep the railroad operating. In the middle of that Depression, my mother became a telephone operator for the Farmers Telephone and Telegraph Company.
Here we are at the south end of Minden, right by the Gardnerville town line. We're at the Chevron Oil Company bulk distribution plant.
Yes.
And behind us there's a sheet metal building. Now, I understand that building dates from the earliest days of Standard Oil here in Minden back in 1922.
That's correct. We had the Richfield in the center. We had where the Carson Valley Inn is, we had the Union Oil, and then we had the Standard here at this end.
Right, and the Standard was actually the second one. I guess Union Oil came in first in 1918. This plant was built 4 years later, and a few years after that, Richfield came in with the third plant.
Yes.
And so all of a sudden, little by little more every year, perhaps, the shipment of gasoline into the Carson Valley became an important source of freight traffic for the V&T.
Oh,
right,
yes.
along with...
We used to have as many as 10 tank cars at the same time coming in, some of them with heavy oil, where they used it for heavy heating, like at the butter manufacturing. Yes, we...
But a lot of it was gasoline for cars and trucks?
Yes.
And all of it distributed out of these bulk oil plants.
That's right.
To filling stations, maybe like...
Then one of the big problems was that the very thing that we were dependent upon led to the end of our function.
On the Virginia and Truckee Railway.
That's right.
In fact, when Hap's family first moved to Minden, they went by automobile, not train. It reflected just how quickly transportation was changing.
You didn't have to climb in that boxcar or anything to get to town. How did you get down to Minden?
We came on my dad's Model T.
What was the price of gasoline in those days?
29 cents, and you had to fill it up into a glass bowl and pump it up to it, and then you went and drained it down and read how much did you put in the car for them.
As people turned steadily to cars, the COD garage here in Minden became the place that they went for fuel and also for service. It was operated by Clarence Oliver Dangberg of the Dangberg family. As passenger numbers declined for the Virginia and Truckee, the railroad bought 2 additional motor cars to carry its passengers. Of course, the best known motor car is the 1910 McKean motor car, which had a seating capacity of 84 people. It turned out that was too big. In 1917, the railway acquired a 22-seat rail bus that mostly was used between Carson City and Virginia City. And in 1926, secondhand from the Tonopah and Goldfield Railroad. It bought a 25-passenger motor car that was numbered 99. An effect of the Great Depression on the Virginia and Truckee was the decision to store the 1910 McKean car. Now, this car had a seating capacity of 84 passengers, and after 1929, it spent most of its time in storage. It was almost never used, and in 1932, after a conversion, the V&T management put it back in service. It had been adapted so that the smoking section became a railway post office apartment, and the extreme rear end of the car was partitioned off to provide space for the Railway Express Agency. Passenger seating was reduced from 84 people to about 24. Before the 1920s, the V&T Railway stayed profitable because of its passenger business and seasonal livestock movements. That was business that left the rails all over America because of greater efficiency on the highways. The year that Walter Fisher became station agent here in Minden was the last year that the V&T Railway was profitable. Starting in 1924, deficits set in that persisted until the railroad finally was abandoned in 1950. And more than any other factor, it was competition from better roads and more efficient cars and trucks that brought this about.
May 31st, 1950, the last day of service, found engine number 27 pulling into the Reno station late in the evening with a crowd of people waiting and watching the event. The shadows were already long at this time of day. Number 27 backs the V&T into history.
And now as the 2020s are approaching, because of the rising cost of fuel, congestion on the roads, and increased concerns about air pollution, it's very possible that we'll see a return to railroad transportation.
Hap Fisher went on to a long and successful career with IBM, much of it in San Jose, California. Now, he has retired back to his boyhood home in Nevada, generously giving all of us a living link to the days of the Virginia and Truckee Railway. The state of Nevada operates 7 museums for the public: the Nevada Historical Society in Reno, the State Museum and the Railroad Museum, both in Carson City, the East Ely Depot Museum, Lost City Museum at Lake Mead, the State Museum and Historical Society in Las Vegas, and the Nevada State Railroad Museum in Boulder City. The museums are part of the Nevada Department of Cultural Affairs, along with the State Library and Archives, State Historic Preservation Office, and Nevada Arts Council. For more information, please visit nevadaculture.org or contact the Nevada Department of Cultural Affairs at 775-687-8323. And see you next time on Exploring Nevada.